Hey guys, let me start this off by saying, number one, I'm not a doctor or a scientist, but I have been doing a lot of research on the coronavirus, and we want to talk about some different aspects. And I think one of the biggest things that we're going to talk about toward the end is using this as a springboard to make sure that your preps are in order. When this first started happening, the first thing that came to my mind is, wow, I am woefully underprepared. And I've been doing this for a number of years. But it kind of puts you in a different mindset, and we'll talk about that toward the end. But one of the things that I want to say right up front is don't panic. There's a lot of people out there running around. They're trying to find supplies at the last minute. It's this herd mentality. It's just mobs. And they've even had some fights to break out over toilet paper and cleaning supplies. And guys, one of the things about this channel, Sensible Prepper, is that you do need to be prepared. And when you are prepared, it helps you have peace of mind, and it keeps you from going into panic mode. And so it's really important. I mean, one of the big things is that here locally, we've had a lot of stores that have just sold out of different type cleaning supplies, water, different type foods, things that people are worried about. Toilet paper, of course, is a big one. It's really funny, in our local Walmart, which I was told this because I quit shopping at Walmart, but they said there was an employee standing next to the toilet paper, and there was a limit of 1 pack per customer. And so they were handing out 1 pack. And so guys, it's just gotten down to rationing. So having some supplies ahead of time, especially those things that are critical, guys, it's just sensible, it's smart. And you really need to think about these things ahead of time. Now, one of the big things I keep hearing is, oh, the flu kills way more people than the coronavirus or COVID-19. And the flu does kill about 35,000 people in the US every year. And actually 35 million people in 2018-19 got the flu, at least that it was reported. So while 35,000 people is a lot of people, it's really only 0.01% of the population that gets the flu that actually dies. And so when we look at COVID-19, we have a mortality rate of somewhere averaging about 3.4 to 3.7%. And that's the numbers that we're getting right now. That is a huge increase. Now, one of the big factors is that COVID-19 is new. That's why it's called the novel coronavirus. Influenza has been around for 2,000 years. A lot of people have built up immunities to it, and what that does is it protects those who are not immune. Also, we have vaccines that we can use against the flu. And so there are some protections against the flu that we don't have with COVID-19. Now, 80% of the people that get COVID-19 typically just have from 0 symptoms up until sick like the flu, and you just stay at home. 20% go to the hospital or need really serious medical attention. 15% of those just need maybe some oxygen. They may just need some certain treatments, and they have to fight this on their own immunity system, again, because there's nothing that really can defeat the COVID-19 once you're infected. 5% go into critical, or typically ICU. And out of that, 3.7% die. So it is a pretty high mortality rate if you really get sick with it, if it goes into ICU. Now, listen guys, most of you, if you're under the age of 50, even up to 60, you'll probably be in that 80% level, or you may go into the hospital, you may have some treatment, but your chances of living is very high. But if you are elderly, you are really at risk. So guys, number one, just don't be selfish. It's really easy to think, I'm young, I'm not going to die from this, it doesn't really matter. I mean, I might get sick like the flu, but I'm okay. But if you have any contact with anyone in that vulnerable age bracket of 60 and above, you can give it to them. So it's really important to be careful, because we all need to be careful. We all need to be taking precautions. Of course, typically you just need to keep your hands washed. You need to quit touching your face, rubbing your eyes, your nose itches, you putting things to your mouth. But shaking hands, make sure you wash them, and wash them for at least 20 seconds in warm water, and just good soap and water. Of course, hand sanitizers have completely disappeared off the shelves. But I'm going to give you some options, and we're going to look at some things that you can do in spite of a lot of the shortages. Now guys, here are a few things that we just do, and I just thought I'd pass it along. One of the big things you want to do is to keep clean, and unfortunately hand sanitizer, is gone pretty much. Isopropyl alcohol, or 70%, at least 70% alcohol. This will do great for keeping your hands clean, and this is what hospitals use, so it really works well. If you can't find this, which this is right now, it's getting hard to find, you can go to the liquor store and get some 90 grain alcohol. This is actually Gym Clear, and this will also sanitize your hands. So ethyl alcohol, anything over 70% is great, not only to wipe your hands down, but to clean surfaces. So these are just some alternatives in case you can't find what you need. Now here we have just some hand wipes, and I use these. In fact, I keep this in my truck or my Hummer, and anytime I need something, I just wipe my steering wheel down. I just keep everything wiped down and clean. One thing we do also is take vitamin D3. That is really good for the immune system, and you get it from the sun, also milk and other things. But having that vitamin D3, that's shown a lot of promise, in just building up your immune system. And then also vitamin C. And being on some kind of multivitamin is definitely helpful, but this is just what we do. Also, as far as symptoms go, having a good thermometer. And one thing about this time period right now is if you're not careful, you start to wonder if you're having symptoms just because all the sickness going around. So having a good thermometer, just checking, and of course, this is an electronic, it's actually an infrared, you can scan so it doesn't touch anything, but even your regular thermometers. But just keeping that temperature checked, especially if you start getting sick, and then you'll know that you need to maybe start thinking about, medical attention. One thing, though, that is kind of different, and I saw this actually on Dr. John Campbell's YouTube channel, which is excellent, but a good friend of mine sent this to me, and I want to thank Rick for sending it, and the thermometer. But this checks your oxygen blood level. They use these at hospitals. He got this on Amazon and had it sent to me. Once you turn it on, just take and put your finger in between these little places, and you can see it's starting to read it. And then what it'll do is it'll give you your oxygen level, and it'll give you your heart rate. And it takes a few minutes for it to settle down, and of course I'm a little bit, just being on video, you're kind of thinking a little differently. But this will help to let you know that your oxygen level is up, or if you're having some issues. And this may be something that you might have even before you have shortness of breath. And so this is just a little something, a tip mainly. It may not be something you want to get into, but it's something that we use. But now one thing to consider is when I go typically into a restaurant, and I thought about this through when we went to Arby's a couple of weeks ago. I walked up to the counter, I put my hands on the counter. I ordered food, I gave him my card, I touched the card reader with my fingers, and then I walked over, got the cup that the girl handed me, I got my drink, and I went and I sat down with the tray and put the tray on the table. I have touched a lot of different things, and I looked over at Sarah Mack because we were having lunch together, and I just said, we need to go wash our hands. And so we went, washed our hands, came back, sat down, there I am. There's my food, there's my sandwich, there's my French fries or whatever. And so now I need to figure out how to eat it without touching it. And so grabbing it from the back, eating it, taking the fries with a napkin, which is definitely different, something we don't typically do. And then use that, and then went to wash my hands because I had touched the tray again, I had touched the cup that the girl handed me, and even touched the wrapping paper that went around the back of it. So we've got to change the way we think about things. One of the things they do in China is they have little tissues right next to the card readers, so when you punch in your numbers, you can use a tissue first, punch in your numbers, and then throw the tissue away. Or whether it's sanitary wipes or whatever it is. But just really changing your mindset about what you touch. I have never been a germaphobe. I just, I'll lick the ground. I don't care. I'll eat whatever. Something falls on the ground, I eat it. Here's the thing, guys. You've got to be somewhat of a germaphobe when it comes to this, because it's just too dangerous. And honestly, we don't really know the effects. Now, one of the other things about panicking is, guys, we don't know the true effects. And we're going to see it in the next few weeks, how it just transpires here in the U.S. And a lot of you guys watching are from other parts of the world. But here's the thing. With the flu, people just go. We don't really think that much about it. We might not shake hands as much. We may have a little bit of thought about it. But typically, it isn't a national state of emergency. And that's one of the things about the coronavirus, is we have a national state of emergency because COVID-19 isn't replacing the flu. It's adding to the flu. And we right now are in high flu season. So the hospital systems are going to be overburdened, and we're already hearing about it everywhere. So COVID-19 will start to rise, and it'll come up to a certain point, and it'll stay there, and then it'll start to come down. We saw it in China, we've seen it in other places. But the problem is when it's in that really high volume, the hospital systems and our medical system is going to be completely overrun. But if we can make that more of a just a slight gradual change, then the medical system is going to be able to take care of things a lot easier. And that's one of the great things that President Trump has done, is kind of put some things into action, stopped a lot of international flights from those areas that are most infected, and able to protect the country so it'll stay in that more gradual change instead of just a huge uptick. Now, if you're experiencing light symptoms, don't necessarily run up to the doctor. One of the things that's important is that you need to kind of ride it out, because again, the medical system is going to be overrun. Plus, you're going to possibly expose yourself to somebody that has COVID-19 in a hospital or a doctor's office. And so one thing that we definitely recommend, if you do need to go to the doctor, is to check in and then go sit in your car. Don't sit in a waiting room with people coughing and sneezing. And then if you do have to go to the hospital, you're going to be more vulnerable to getting certain things. And so that is really important to kind of, if you can help it, if you can step back and let it ride it out, then do. Now, if you start getting shortness of breath, seek medical attention for sure, or if you get a high fever. But as far as regular things that you could ride out at your home, it's best to do it. Of course, another big thing is just cutting out a lot of your social behavior, curtailing it down, not meeting out with a bunch of friends, not going out to places, not going to a movie, going to restaurants. If you can help it, best to stay at home as much as possible. A lot of people have to work. They have to go out and they have to do. But, keeping your distance. If somebody's coughing or sneezing, stay back from them. Stop shaking hands. Elbow bump. That's one thing that you can do. And a lot of people will understand that and appreciate it. Of course, we're finding out that the masks typically don't work, but I think one thing a mask will do is if you put it on and walk down the street, people will give you a wide berth. And that could be the biggest advantage. Plus, you're not putting your hands up to your mouth or face. Now, for me, I'm not necessarily going to wear a mask out, but to be honest with you, I work from home and we're going to stay at home. And another big thing, guys, is your phone. A lot of people will use their phone, then we go and wash our hands, and then we pick our phone right back up. Your phone needs to be cleaned constantly. This is something that you use a lot. Even your billfold, wipe it down. The other day, I took in some cash money, and I wasn't even thinking about it. When I got to my car, I wiped the handle down. I wiped my hands off with a sanitary wipe that's antimicrobial, and I felt really clean, wiped off the steering wheel, and then when I got home, I pulled that cash out and I started messing with it. The thing is it can be transferred by money and your card. So just make sure that you keep those things clean. Now is a great time to analyze your preps. You should be motivated. You've seen some of the things that can happen. You've seen the empty store shelves, especially certain items. And one of the big things about COVID-19 is that it should fall off during the spring, but it'll just enter into the southern hemisphere. And then possibly it'll come back next fall. And it could mutate, it could be a lot more deadly, it could be less deadly. We just don't know. But right now is a great time, while you're really thinking about it, is to make sure that you get yourself in order. You may not be able to go get extra toilet paper now, but once this thing passes, this is a great time to be able to make sure that your preps are in order. Having enough toilet paper ahead of time, having the foods you need, having your medical supplies put aside. I did a video on the contagion kit that we have together, and guys, we put that together before the panic started, and so we were in good shape. We bought a lot of N95 masks and a lot of cleaning supplies, gel, a lot of hand sanitizer, and a lot of other things. One thing we did not do is we didn't hoard all those things, because people need those things. It's something that you can buy over time. And I suggest over the summer that you just, every once in a while while you're at the store, pick up some extra hand sanitizer, some extra toilet paper, some bleach, other things like that, and just put it aside. But guys, if you hoard, you're really doing a disservice to the whole community. But here's the other side of this, guys, is that preps are not only for COVID-19, they're for a lot of other different things. Last year, we would never have even thought that there could be a possible pandemic that would hit the U.S. and the world. And so we don't know what's going to happen next year as far as something else. It may not be any kind of virus. It may not be a sickness. It may be something completely different. And so having those preps ready is just smart. We live in a volatile world. We live in times where things can happen and at a moment's notice, things that we never would have thought of before that can happen in an instant. And guys, that's why it's really important to go ahead, take this time, use it as an inspiration and a motivation to get yourself in good shape. Guys, we have a lot of long-term food and we have it stored away. And guys, that is for a total emergency. But riding through something like this that may take a month, may take 2 months, we don't want to necessarily get into our dried goods. And so we have a lot of different canned things that we typically eat on a regular basis. A lot of that kind of food we have set aside. And so we're able to continue to eat just like we were, a little more convenient. We still have power, we still have water, we still have our basic utilities. And so during that time, we can enjoy that. If things go south from there, then we have our backup. But for typical things that happen, it's really great to have a very deep pantry stacked very high. So guys, again, don't panic. Just step back, take a deep breath. But make sure that you're taking care of your personal hygiene. And of course, you've got to step it up during this season. Again, it is flu season right now. And we have COVID-19 to deal with. And so just make sure that you're keeping yourself clean, because it's not only for you, it's also for those that you come in contact with. Guys, if you're serious about prepping and survival, check out Survival Dispatch Insider, one of the best resources on the web, using some of the top names in the survival prepping community. Guys, it's tough to get out there and source through a lot of information and what's true and what's legitimate and what's not. And Survival Dispatch Insider kind of puts it in one place. We upload one video that's exclusive to the Insider every week. I'll have a link down below in the description. I think it's well worth checking out. Be strong, be of good courage. God bless America. Long live the Republic. Now, one of the big things is if you do experience some light. Now, one of the big things is, now if you're experiencing light systems, and guys, if you're serious about prepping and survival, check out Survival Dispatch. Guys, don't panic. Take a deep breath and just relax. And if you can't take a deep breath, call your doctor.